Hi guys, I hope you're all okay and I hope you're having a lovely day. So, we know what China is now. It's fragile, it's delicate, it's easily breakable, it's fine, it's quite a beautiful material, it's quite expensive as well. So, it's important that you know that because we're about to start our story, The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. Once, in a house on Egypt Street, there lived a rabbit who was made almost entirely of china. He had china arms and china legs, china paws and a china head, a china torso and a china nose. His arms and legs were jointed and joined by a wire so that his china elbows and china knees could be bent, giving him much freedom of movement. So he could move his arms like this and he could move his knees as well. His ears were made of real rabbit fur, and beneath the fur there were strong bendable wires which allowed the ears to be arranged into poses that reflected the rabbit's mood: jaunty, tired, full of ennui. His tail too was made of real rabbit fur and was fluffy and soft and well shaped. There's a few strange words there, weren't there? So about the rabbit's his mood, how he's feeling. Jaunty, what's that feeling, do you think? Tired, well, you might know that one. What about this? Full of ennui. That's a strange phrase. I wonder what it means. I wonder what that feeling is. The rabbit's name was Edward Tulane, and he was tall. He measured almost 3 feet from the tip of his ears to the tip of his toes. His eyes were painted a penetrating and intelligent blue. In all, Edward Tulane felt himself to be an exceptional specimen. Only his whiskers gave him pause. They were long and elegant, as they should be, but they were of uncertain origin. That means he doesn't know where they came from. Edward felt quite strongly that they were not the whiskers of a rabbit. Whom the whiskers belonged to initially, what unsavoury animal, was a question that Edward could not bear to consider for too long, and so he did not. He preferred, as a rule, not to think of unpleasant things. Edward's mistress was a 10-year-old dark-haired girl named Abilene Tulane, who thought almost as highly of Edward as Edward thought of himself. Each morning after she dressed herself for school, Abilene dressed Edward. The china rabbit was in possession of an extraordinary wardrobe composed of handmade silk suits, custom shoes fashioned from the finest leather and designed specifically for his rabbit feet, and a wide array of hats equipped with holes so that they could easily fit over Edward's large and expressive ears. Each pair of well-cut trainers had a small pocket for Edward's gold pocket watch. Abilene wound this each morning for him. There's a little picture of the pocket watch here. So she wound it every day to make sure that it kept the time, it didn't go out of time. "Now, Edward," she said to him, after she finished winding the watch, "when the big hand is on 12 and the little hand is on 3, I will come home to you." She placed Edward on a chair in the dining room and positioned the chair so that Edward was looking out of the window and could see the path that led up to the Tulane front door. Abilene balanced the watch on his left leg. She kissed the tips of his ears, and then she left Edward, who spent the day staring out at Egypt Street, listening to the tick of his watch and waiting. Of all these seasons of the year, the rabbit most preferred winter, for the sun set early then, and the dining room windows became dark, and Edward could see his own reflection in the glass. And what a reflection it was! What an elegant figure he cut! Edward never ceased to be amazed at his own reflection, at his own fineness. In the evening, Edward sat in the dining room, at the dining room table, with the other members of the Tulane family: Abilene, her mother, her father, and Abilene's grandmother, who was called Pellegrina. True, Edward's ears barely cleared the tabletop, and true also, he spent the duration of the time sitting and staring at the bright white tablecloth. But he was there, a rabbit at the table. Abilene's parents found it charming that Abilene considered Edward real, and that she sometimes requested a phrase or story be repeated because Edward had not heard it. "Papa," she would say, I'm afraid Edward didn't catch that last bit. Could you repeat it for him, please? Abeline's father would then turn in the direction of Edward's ears and speak slowly, repeating what he had just said before, for the benefit of the China Rabbit. Edward pretended, out of courtesy to Abeline, to listen, but in truth, he was not interested in what people had to say. And also, he did not care for Abeline's parents and their condescending manner towards him. All adults, in fact, condescended to him. Only Abeline's grandmother spoke to him, as Abeline did, as one equal to another. Pellegrina was very old. She had a large, sharp nose and bright black eyes that shone like dark stars. It was Pellegrina who was responsible for Edward's existence. It was she who had commissioned his making. She who had ordered his silk suits and his pocket watch, his jaunty hats and his bendable ears, his fine leather shoes and his jointed arms and legs, all from a master craftsman in her native France. It was Pellegrina who had given him as a gift to Abeline on her 7th birthday. And it was Pellegrina who came each night to tuck Abeline into her bed and Edward into his. "Will you tell us a story, Pellegrina?" Abeline asked her grandmother each night. "Not tonight, lady." "When?" said Abeline. "What night?" "Soon," said Pellegrina. "Soon there will be a story." And then she turned off the light, and Edward and Abeline lay in the dark of the bedroom. "I love you, Edward," Abeline said each night after Pellegrina had left. She said those words, and then she waited, almost as if she expected Edward to say something in return. Edward said nothing. He said nothing because, of course, he could not speak. He lay in his small bed next to Abeline's large one. He stared up at the ceiling and listened to the sounds of her breath entering and leaving her body, knowing that soon she would be asleep. Because Edward's eyes were painted on and he could not close them, he was always awake. Sometimes, if Abeline put him into his bed, onto his side, instead of on his back, he could see through the cracks in the curtains and out into the dark night. On clear nights, the stars shone, and their pinprick light comforted Edward in a way he could not quite understand. Often, he stared at the stars all night until the dark finally gave way to dawn. So there you go. There's a little introduction to Edward. Let me know what you think about him, and let me know your thoughts about the story as well. And let's see if we can find out what those feelings are, jaunty and full of emu, so we can see the sorts of feelings that the rabbit might be feeling, and why he might want his ears shaped in a different way. And there you go. That's a little picture of Edward. There's not many pictures in this story. On the back of the book, there's the pocket watch, the gold pocket watch pointing to 3 o'clock, which is the time that Abeline came home from school and Edward was moved out of his position, sitting and watching. And it's interesting that he liked winter best because in winter he could sit and look at himself rather than looking at the street. That's interesting, isn't it? Tells us a little bit about Edward, I think. Well, anyway, I'll read you the next chapter tomorrow. Love you lots.